Okay, thank everyone for coming out on this nice, beautiful fall evening. I think it's too nice of weather out there. People are probably out grilling out. But here to celebrate and give tribute to Gerald Barron, fabulous architect, and some phenomenal work that he has done. There we go. And we're going to start off with the author or the person who helped coordinate the book, Linda Baker. Linda, you want to come on up?
Hello, I'm Gerald's niece, and I've grown up around Gerald's architecture and watched him working. And several years ago, I live in California, but I was in town in Louisville for a family dinner and came to the house for a dinner, and it was dusk. And the light was shining in the house, and it was getting dark outside, and highlighting the lines of the house. And I just looked at it again, and I've been in the house, many, many times, and I was just struck again by how beautiful it is, and the lines of the house, and it just lit something in me that we have to acknowledge this. And he has a beautiful body of work, and anyway, so that was the germ of the idea that continued to grow. And a couple of years ago, I started the project and had spent a number of conversations with Gerald. I was here 2 years ago, and Gerald had set up a series of meetings for us to go into homes that he had designed that we were able to go and look at the houses, and I could brought my camera equipment and photographed the houses as they are today. And anyway, everyone was just so wonderful and opening with it. So we had about a dozen homes then, and then added homes. And it was interesting, some of the homes, like from the earlier homes he did from the 60s and 70s, a few of the newer owners had taken out a wall to open up space, so they had more space. And like in 2 or 3 occasions when we saw this, Gerald said, and I'm quoting, "I really like what they did. They've taken my design and they've made it better." Aww. And it was just really nice to see his homes like continuing to hold their same structure. Anyway, the book also showcases his commercial work, and he did a couple of churches that are highlighted in the book that are in southern Kentucky, and this beautiful space, which I'll talk about more later, Temple Shalom, and numerous movie theater conversions done with my father and uncle, Sag Brothers. I also want to thank my sister-in-law, Debbie, who is not here tonight. Her husband John is, but Debbie is a graphic designer and amazingly talented. And I handed her photographs, I handed her text, and she turned it into this beautiful book. So thank you, Debbie. And then I also wanted to thank Joanne Weeder, who is here tonight. Joanne's a local architecture historian, and also coincidentally lives in a Gerald Barron home. And she just, I got connected with her early on and provided me a lot of context about her global architecture and also encouragement on the project. And then she also connected me with Steve Weiser, who also was just a great resource all through these past few years of doing the project, and really, in emailing me, "How's the book coming? How's it coming?" And then offering to do this talk tonight, which is just terrific. And my publisher, Carol Butler, in the back there, I come to this knowing nothing about publishing, writing a book, and she helped me along the way. I talked to her early on, and she gave me, told me all these things I needed to do and be aware of, and asked me her know when I had something to show her, which I did, and she liked it, so it was good. Then I also, of course, thanking Gerald to embrace this project, and it was a really great opportunity for the two of us to work together in a different way and get to know each other and have a lot of phone calls and emails back and forth. Mickey, Gerald's wife, sitting next to him, thank you for all your support, and we're really happy that Mickey is back here. She has been in Israel for a grandson's wedding, and we didn't know if she was going to be back, but she made it back on Thursday, and she and Gerald have 3 grandsons in the Israeli army, so our hearts are with them. And I think, Jamie is one of their daughters. Jamie, why did I say that? Mitzi, there are 4 daughters, and this is Mitzi. And the 4 girls, along with Mickey, contributed their memories from growing up in the house that Gerald designed for their family. Okay.
Thank you very much, Linda. I don't think I introduced myself. I am Steve Weiser. I'm a local architect, historian, and did various things as such, and do a lot of talks on Louisville architecture, and was very pleased to be a part of this project and all. So here's the table of contents of the book. Hopefully, if you've not been able to see the book yet, it's beautifully done, and they're for sale after the program. But let's start at the very beginning, as such. So Gerald grew up in this house here, which I think is off of the Trevilian Way, off Lakeside Drive there in the Lakeside neighborhood there. And it says that your parents worked with an architect, Gerald. Do you recall who the architect might have been? Do not recall. So, yeah, there's nothing unique as far as window treatment that I could point out. Joanne, I'm not sure if you can pick out who the architect of this might have been. But anyways, very nice house there in the Lakeside neighborhood. And you listened to your parents as they talked to the architect to design this. And so very well done. Then a little bit more of your influences. You worked at your dad's store there, Barron's Appliances. Where was that located?
Baxter and Bardstown.
Baxter and Bardstown, okay. Then there you are with a model in the upper right-hand corner. You went to the University of Illinois in 1950. I don't think UK had a school of architecture at that time. If it did, it might have just started. Mike, when did UK start their program?
It came out of the engineering school, and
I want to say it's
I thought it was 60s. Yeah,
60s.
It was.
So yeah, UK did not have we did not have a local architectural school at that time. And I love Silman's department store. I went there as well, and you enjoyed the design of that and some of the counter work there, cabinet work. So some early influences of your career. And then further on, you were in the military there, naval officer. I think you were stationed in Japan, is that correct?
Japan, Korea.
Japan and Korea. And then, phenomenal. So out of school, Gerald gets a job with HOK. Not sure if many of you know who HOK is, but they are one of the premier architectural firms of the United States. Helmuth, Obata, and Hasselbaum, and there they are pictured there. And yeah, they started the firm in 1955, and you went to work for them just 4 years later, so very early on in their career. And I tried to pick out several of their projects that were done about that time. I'm not sure.
I remember working on that one.
What, the St. Louis Abbey Church? Wow, okay, great. I guessed right on that. And then St. Thomas Aquinas Schools, they did a lot of work there in the St. Louis area where they were based. But here locally, well, perhaps more recently, they did the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, which is one of the premier NFL stadiums. The LaGuardia Airport reconstruction, which I've been to several times, and they've done a great job there. The National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C., they worked on. Here locally, they did the soccer stadium down in the Butchertown area. They also helped redo our convention center here in Louisville. And then most everyone is familiar with what we call the Flask Cube building at the Hurstburn Parkway and Shelbyville Road. They work on that. So HOK, been around a long time, phenomenal firm, and to get your career started with that firm is just spectacular. So HOK. Then you work for, well, you worked in the middle there, Watkins and, get the last name, Hill, was it?
What did you say?
The firm in Lexington that you work for.
Watkins and Mills.
Watkins and Mills. I was going to say Hills, but Watkins and Mills, you worked there in Lexington, and then you came to Louisville and worked for Sweet and Judd. And Sweet and Judd were one of the premier residential designers in the 50s and 60s. Hopefully everyone has seen a Sweet and Judd house, primarily Norm Sweet. I'm not sure if you got to work on any of these. I've tried to pick out some in that era of the early 1960s that you might have worked on. I've been inside the Merritt Place one, not so much Brookside Drive. Cliff Line Trace was done in 1961. Not sure if you had an opportunity to work for those. But Sweet and Judd, Norm Sweet homes are spectacular homes, as well as we'll soon see what you have designed as well. So then, in the mid-1960s, Gerald began his solo practice, designing homes. Now then, I love this photograph here that is in the book. This is old school. You don't see this anymore.
What's that thing on?
Exactly. What are we seeing here? You don't see any computers here, do you? You see a parallel bar, which they don't make anymore. I have one in my house still. I have a parallel bar. You really have it tilted up. Your drafting table is tilted way up. I have it more flat. And then this little guy right here, unfortunately had to use that a lot. That's an erasure shield that you, and you never made any mistakes, but
I wore about 2 dozen of them.
you wore about 2 dozen of them. But did you have an electric eraser?
Oh, sure.
Everyone had electric erasers back in those days.
And pencil sharpeners.
Pencil sharpeners, that's right, and the triangles. And this is just a classic photograph. You do not see this anymore. You go into an architectural office now, they're all screens. They have 2 and 3 monitors usually, all doing CAD and Revit and whatever else they're coming up with nowadays. But I love this photograph here of you here working. This is a great capture of that era of time that we all, growing up in that period, worked on. And so are some early houses here, the side house, which Linda, I think this is the house you grew up in.
Yes.
I am correct. A lot of modern takes on the ranch style home.
And that was the first house that he did.
Ah. I take it it's still standing, I hope. Good deal. And a few more homes that he did over time. We've got some there.
That's the snow house is the one I was telling you about just.
All the snow houses
out there.
on Seneca Valley Road, I think
Yeah,
it is.
that's right around the corner from the one we were
Yeah,
talking
Margo
about.
Lipinski here, she deals in she was describing this house to me, and as you were doing
That's
it, I'm
it,
like,
yeah.
"Who
I didn't
did
know
this
that was a
house?"
Gerald Barron house. Oh, wow.
Yeah, Mike.
That's about 3 houses from us.
Yes.
So everyone's familiar with that house. See, Gerald, everyone's familiar with
You gotta
this.
turn the corner to you if you don't know it's there. Wow.
And then this church that he did in Middlesboro, Kentucky, which is, I think, in central Kentucky. But it's a spectacular church. I need, next time I'm in that
Yeah.
neck of the woods, I'm going to go by and take a look at this. Curvilinear forms. Phenomenal church. Now then, this is the Garden Court Apartments, mid-1960s, and this is a block away from where I live in the Clifton neighborhood. Here's an aerial view of it. For those of you familiar with Lower Brownsboro Road, Pat's Steakhouse is just right down this block or two to the north there. And it
Where'd you
looks-
get the Colonel? That's a beautiful view. Where'd you get that one?
Google Earth.
That's new stuff.
That's new stuff, yes, it's digital
I've
nowadays.
never
Yes.
seen that picture before.
I took that off Google Earth. Yes, I do that a lot in my presentations. But it's held up very well, and I go by there all the time, and it's doing well.
It's like 4 separate buildings? Is that,
That's right.
okay?
You can see the floor plan there. Yeah, very innovative floor plan, very well done, very well designed. And theaters. I think everyone in Louisville has been in one of your theaters. Village 8, which unfortunately is going through a demise currently, but everyone loves Village 8. And then all the other theaters that you did. Unfortunately, a lot of the theaters are going by the wayside now, but yeah, I think most Louisvillians have been in your buildings at one time or another due to the theaters. So let's talk about some of the homes that Gerald has designed. And this, I understand, is his house, correct? Just anything in particular that you'd like to say here? By the way, I don't see any ductwork or infrastructure here. I'm not sure if you use radiant flooring, heating, or any of
No,
that.
it's just, everything is conventional.
Okay. So you have a furnace and...
Yes, perimeter heating, furnace.
Gotcha. This is the Solomon House, am I correct? Just, I'm not sure who your glass supplier was, but they loved your projects, I'm sure.
There's an interesting thing about this house. The Rabbi Rooks lives in this house right now, and when he's the third owner, the second owner painted the stone black, and it took them forever to get the black paint off of the stone to bring it back to the original color of the
You
stone.
never paint stone or brick. But, oh my gosh. So that's why the mortar looks like a little black in the middle there. But phenomenal.
And they are the owners of that house right now. They're French and white lovers, and they've got a lot of his influence in the furniture and the accessories around the
A lot
house.
of arts and crafts style furniture. This is your house
That's
again.
my house.
Do you play the piano? I was going to ask who plays the piano in your house.
We've always had a piano. My mother was a very good piano player, and she could have been a concert pianist, but my grandfather didn't believe that women should go to college. And so she just played piano at the house.
So you had to make sure you had double doors to get the piano in the house.
What part of town, you don't tell us where you live, but what part of town is that?
That's Oldham County,
Oldham
correct?
County,
Yes.
okay.
Is it the Prospect area?
Our address is Prospect.
And we'll talk to you more about that.
Sorry. I'm just intrigued. It's beautiful.
It's phenomenal. And now here are some of the exteriors of the homes. There's your house there. Out there. And the Willikin
Yeah, I was
house.
gonna say,
It
Yes.
used to be white.
What, this house? And then
Yes, they
dark color.
painted, they've done a lot of.
Did you sell this house recently? Because it was sold
It was off,
recently.
yeah, it was off market. I didn't end up selling it, but they did end up selling it to another. I did
Because
see it recently.
when it was for sale recently, I got some photographs off the realtor's website.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is the backside of that thing, the rear yard, which most don't see.
It needs a lot of,
Love and care.
well, I
Is
can't
it-
remember what the siding was though. Do you remember?
that was exciting.
Redwood.
Redwood or
Right,
cedar.
yeah, it got,
But here's the front of the house.
it's,
So this was white originally, huh? Is that correct? Wow.
white would have been
Wow. Some interiors of this.
fabulous.
These photographs are not in the book. I took these off the realtor website. And at the time, I did not know who Gerald was at the time when I did
Yeah.
this. This is
I didn't open house there. I didn't know
Years
who you
ago.
were.
Right next door.
Oh, really? That's you? Oh.
Look at these chairs.
I need a chance to get to pretend I'm looking.
Henry, I can see you sitting in one of those chairs right now. Just phenomenal. The Eames chairs, if anyone's not familiar with that style of chair.
Oh, it's so much better than.
This large feature there. Just spectacular.
The bedroom at the end of the hall looks awesome.
And there's the front entranceway again. Men, you're a great master of the watercolor. That's something I could not master. I know Mike Cook, who's here this evening, you are a great watercolor illustrator, but just very nice. Love that. That's fantastic. Not sure where this was taken. It was this.
When I was in the service in Japan, I did some watercolors.
Wow. And what I like about this book as well is you included some of the family photographs. Most of my books or whatever, we don't include usually pictures of people in our books for whatever reason, but this was a great touch to illustrate your family and all. And feel free if anyone wants to comment on these photographs from the family. We're here.
Well, these are all Gerald and his brother Martin and his sister Sonia at different times, and then their spouses.
The black and white one at the upper right corner, that was my bar mitzvah picture of my brother's and my sister. And that's the family at Thanksgiving.
Linda took that picture.
Yeah, I think it was like about 6 or 7 years ago.
More than that.
More than that, because Young was a little
12.
baby there.
Oh,
It was
God.
2011.
Wow. Wow.
And then what I like what you did, Linda, was do a portfolio sort of overview of all of his projects chronologically. I love when books have that, because these books, as Joanne is aware, we historians use this a lot. I'm so glad that when you do these type of architectural books that it helps folks like me and Joanne to sort of do our work for us. You know, we've got the listings there, and I love it when we have these sorts of chronology list of projects.
And that's the whole family together for celebrating Gerald's 90th last year.
And that was at my brother's place where he lives in Florida.
And of course, we're here at the Temple Shalom this evening. This is a photograph that I took from their website, which would have been when it was fairly new. And this is the one I just took recently, just the other day. So it's held up fairly well. They did put a canopy out front, and the vegetation has grown up a little bit. But still looking very new, even though the facility is about 34 years old, I think now. And still looks good as new. They've maintained it very well.
I wanted to just say a few words about Temple Shalom too, about
Go
the
ahead.
genesis of the design. These are Jerusalem arches, and that was Gerald's idea, as I understand it. Correct me. There was a synagogue in Jerusalem, the Yeshurun synagogue, that was destroyed in 1948, and all that was left was one arch. And so Gerald kind of took that theme and echoed that, as we see in here in this room, in creating the design. And then about 9 years ago, there's a photographer, Louis Davidson, was going around the United States, essentially going around the world, looking at different synagogues. And he wanted to document synagogues around the world and create an online exhibit. And he decided to pick 360 synagogues that were just unique in some way, that stood out for either their architecture or their artistry, in some way like that. So, and he chose Temple Shalom for this exhibit, and which is just a really great honor. And so you can go online to Synagogues 360, you can see the exhibit, and the database is actually housed in Tel Aviv at the, they changed the name from the Museum of the Diaspora to the Museum of the Jewish People, which is where the database lives.
And again, it's held up very well. I did want to point out they do have a dedication plaque out front, and Milton Greenbaum, who many of us architects are familiar with, who is in the geologic soils testing, engineering testing consultant with architecture firms. Milton was president of Temple Shalom at the time and headed up the building committee, and his son Sandy is here this evening to represent Milton, who's sadly not with us this no longer. But anyways, it was phenomenal. When I came in the other day and I saw his name, I said, oh my gosh, wow, phenomenal that he was part of all of this. But another Google Earth there for you that I took of that. But very beautiful sanctuary that you have here, place of worship. And then they still have out front in the lobby a lot of the dedication ceremonies, and that's Rabbi Stanley Miles, I believe, if I have that correct, who was there at the time. And all the ceremony that went on with the dedication back in 1989, I think it was. What do we have there today? So we do have, I want to conclude the commentary here. The book is beautiful. I highly recommend that if you haven't had a chance to purchase it yet. We have pricing there, so you can take a look at that. But it's highly worthwhile, and he's a great legacy of Gerald's career here. I mentioned to him the other day, people 100, 200 years from now will be looking at this book, just marveling at what you've left here, just phenomenal structures and design. So we want to thank you very much for all that you have done. Could make it Louisville a better place in which to live. That's the way I ended up. So thank you very much, Gerald. Any questions on that you want to contribute to? Joanne, if you wanted to say a few words?
I'd just like to say that in terms of Gerald's house, I was amazed by it. I had never been in it. I see the reminiscences of Norman Suite. I see the Japanese influence. I was really astounded by the flow. Certainly the outside is as important as the inside to the design of the house. So, I mean, with the soaring ceilings and large expanses of glass. The circulation is phenomenal, because I think on Sunday, there were probably 75 people there maybe, and it was not at all crowded. You could mill around, and it was really just beautifully designed. Tons of built-ins in the bedroom wing. Linda was nice enough to show me a little secret panel in one of the bathrooms that was for the shower, which was astounding. So it's a spring-loaded. It's a room with walls of wood and a spring-loaded door, and you sort of hit the door and out, or well, then you can see the shower behind the wall in what was really served as a powder room, I guess, and as one of the bedrooms for the kids. So it just was really, it's an outstanding house, and it's also one of the series. I guess there are 5 houses in that complex on Reading. 4 with a conservation area in the middle, a shared easement area in the middle. So it's a unique arrangement. Way out in the country, it's just absolutely beautiful and breathtaking, particularly on a fall day, and great for parties.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is something I said the other day at the house. In all the years that we've been married, 53, I never once heard Gerald say a negative word about anybody that he worked with, anybody he did architecture for, any of it. He loved it. He worked hard at it, he worked night and day, and he never complained. And if they were his client, they were the best people in the world. And I think that attitude got him through all of his projects. You know, there were some projects that weren't built, but, and I wanted to just talk for a minute about the two churches in Appalachia, and they're not in the middle of the state, they are down in the bottom. One is in London, Kentucky, and the other one is in Middlesboro, which is right on the Tennessee border. When Gerald did the first church, the Reverend Huff was so excited and happy with his church and showed it off to other preachers in the area. And preacher Bingham came to Gerald, and he was a Baptist minister, and Huff was a Pentecostal, and he has the rounded church also, it's in the book. But then Rabbi Bingham, preacher Bingham came to Gerald and wanted a similar church, although his was so much bigger. And we visited down there, and this last trip, we went last summer and spent a whole day down there and visited with some of the people in the church and in the schools and all the things around the church. And he also did a funeral home for the church. But I looked up into the ceiling, and the, what do I want to say, the
Skylight.
No, well, the skylight, but what goes all the way down to the floor,
Oh,
Buttresses?
the.
buttresses, I guess, go from the ceiling all the way to the floor. And I looked up, and in the center of it was a skylight, up double the height of this. And in the center of it was a Jewish star. And that was the preacher put it there. That was not Gerald. That preacher put the Jewish star in the top of the building. It's unbelievable. And what they have done with that building, and have a school for children, and they go for free, and they give them clothes, and they give them shoes. And I mean, it's just a fabulous situation to know that you put a building up like that. And we met with the kindergarten class, and I pointed up the hill to the church, and I pointed to Gerald, and I said, "You see that man right there?" And they know I said, "That man right there, he built that building for you children. And I want you to know, this is what they did spontaneously. They went like that." It was the sweetest thing. And I think that's what brings everything back. And when he sees people that live in his houses, and you know, all the love that they have for their houses and everything, and even when they've changed them a little bit, it's okay. That's what makes it so nice. And his schedule allowed him to be a great dad, right, Mitzi?
Absolutely. And he's never, Mike, he has never talked ill of anybody. He's just got this.
Except maybe me.
There are exceptions.
But it made him a great dad, and every night he made their breakfast for the morning and drew pictures on their bags for lunch and drove them to school when they were supposed to ride the school bus, and picked them up, always late though, at activities and
Well,
things
now
like
I know
that.
why he was always late, because when we call him, he would still be at the drawing table, and you cannot interrupt an artist. And I didn't know that as a child. But he'd say, I'm on my way, but he'd be so involved that it would not be good for him to leave the art he was making, but I didn't understand that.
Yeah, so that's all.
Yeah, Carol?
I have two observations, because I just love being immersed in this book because it's so beautiful. But there are two observations that when you think about the fact that these houses were done in the 70s, and yet you look at them now and they are absolutely current. I mean, what everybody wants now is that. And it's stunning that that has happened, but it's just they are such incredibly beautiful homes. They're works of art, but I loved what he said very quietly up there a minute ago. Everything about his design was intentional. And I had that discussion with him when I was sitting in the house on Sunday. I said, what I really love about this design of all of his houses is that every single inch of every single room has a a reason for being, and they are so family functional. It's like you go into a room, and it's not just a wall. There's a wall with doors and special little storage areas. There's a built-in sofa. There are all these, he uses every single inch of every single room intentionally, making it functional for families as well as a beautiful work of art. And Gerald, you might talk about some of those really wonderful things that you knew you were designing into this home. That there are little secret places that are holding books. There's, you know, wonderful little cabinets, closets, and they're. It's so interesting when you're walking through because they're all surprises, and you're just so struck by all the thoughtfulness that went into the design because everyone knows that those things are what make a house a home for families and functional for families who are raising their kids in these homes. And his work is so intentional. That's the right word. He did everything so intentionally, and it shows, and it is why they are not only beautiful works of art, but really fabulous family homes.
I do want to say that the book is for sale also at Carmichael's bookstore. I thought you were going to add that in there at the end there, Carol. But it is going to be for sale at Carmichael's bookstore, and it's just a phenomenal book. Hopefully everyone will get a copy, and just great capstone to your career and legacy here, Gerald.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I need to sit in the living room and just hold this picture and admire. When you're there, it's beautiful, but then to see it in a photograph, it's breathtaking. When you're actually there, it's breathtaking, but to see it
Yeah.
apart from
Yeah.
where you are.
You grew up in it, so.
Yeah.
Can you see
Well,
the
anyways.
one with the one we were talking, the other one's the one on the road?
With this one here,
No, the 3 other houses that you had of his that were
those guys there,
back.
back.
Yeah, the one up on Seneca Park.
Snow house.
Oh, Snow House, yeah.
Seneca Valley.
Seneca.
Well, they would have been,
There, nope.
no, yeah, where is it at? Where did we? Well, we had it there at one point, didn't we? Where did they go?
Thought you did.
It was in the
It was
beginning.
yeah.
Okay, it must have been before all that. Okay.
There we
There
go.
we go.
Sorry about that.
Is the Stroll House, is that over off Limekiln?
Yes, it's called In
Yeah, I
This
see that
Trace.
one too.
In
That one's
This
great.
Trace.
Great pool in the back. Love that. Yeah.
Okay, without further ado, Carol's got some books if anyone's interested in purchasing those, and you can talk to Gerald a little bit more if you need to. Have him autograph the book as well while he's here.